And for those of you, I know most of you live in Atlanta or around Atlanta, and I want you to know that the birds that you see in this book are actually in your neighborhoods and parks as well. And what's so cool about Atlanta, and good news for the birds, is that you have more tree cover than any other big city in the United States. And birds really love trees. Many birds really love trees. And you can see more than 170 kinds of birds right in your city parks. So the other inspiration for this book, as you heard, is that I love picture books, and I especially love picture book illustrations. So I was extremely excited to work with Claudia on this book, who is an amazing illustrator. So I'm going to hand it over to her.
Hola todos. Hi everybody. So nice to be here today. Yes, so I was so happy to be asked to illustrate Ruby's birds because I am a huge nature lover. Even though I live in a big city here in Toronto, even with millions of peoples and so many buildings, we still have so much nature right here in the city. And the easiest way to connect with nature is to open your ears and hear the birds. But I've never actually drawn birds before this book, so I thought it was a fantastic opportunity to learn how to draw what I love part of the city, which is birds, and be able to try something new and challenging and dive into a story that I could really relate to, which is connecting with nature in the city.
Awesome, awesome. Well, without further ado, I think we're ready to get this reading started. But before we get started, I want to ask and let everyone know that in honor of National Hispanic Heritage Month, we will be digging a little bit deeper into the bilingual meanings of some of these birds, and Claudia is going to help us do that.
Wonderful. So can you all hear me?
Yes.
All right. And can you see the cover of Ruby's birds?
Yes.
All right, let's get started. So this is Ruby's birds, written by me, Mya Thompson, and illustrated by Claudia Davila, who you can see right there on the screen as well. School's out. Mom and Dad are at work. My brother Malik is at soccer practice. Grandma's at her spot near the window. Alex keeps her company. Things are too quiet around here.
So I'd like to jump in here and just point out that throughout the entire book, there are birds hidden on the pages. So in Spanish, I'm going to ask, can you see the bird? Now in Spanish, the word for bird is pajarito. That's a little bird. A bigger bird is ave. So I'm going to ask, where, donde, where is the bird? ¿Dónde está el pajarito? Can anyone send a message to Kiana and let us know where you see a pajarito? Yes.
Someone says on the cage, and they say it's a cockatoo.
Yes, that's right. This is a sulfur-crested cockatoo. Wow, nice work. All right, well, keep your eyes out. We're going to keep going. Keep your eyes out for more birds. I play the piano. The piece my parents say is very grown up. I practice my dance routine, the one Malik calls stomping. I talk with Alex in the secret language Grandma taught us. What going on? What going on? I sing at the top of my lungs, the song I made up myself.
Now everybody already knows there's a cockatoo on this spread, so I'm going to take the opportunity to tell you what these birds' names are in Spanish. So a cockatoo in Spanish is cacatua, almost the same.
Yay, all right, let's keep going. My neighbor Eva from downstairs hears everything. She calls up from her window, "Ruby, want to go to the park?" "Yes, yes, 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 yes," I sing.
Now I'm going to ask again if you can see a bird on this page. ¿Dónde está el pajarito?
They say on the branch.
Yes, here it is.
It's a house finch.
Oh, someone knows it's a house finch. Wonderful. Now let's hear from Claudia about how you say that in Spanish.
Yes, in Spanish, a house finch is called pinzón with a P.
All right. We pass my favorite bakery. We pass Cece's apartment. We walk right past my regular park, the one with the twisty slide and the sprinklers. I guess Eva's going to a different park. I skip to keep up.
¿Dónde está el pajarito?
Someone spies a pigeon on the sidewalk.
Yes.
Now there are actually 3 birds, tres pajaritos. Yes.
Someone says a mourning dove too on the ground.
There it is.
Can someone see one more? Oh, yes.
A robin in the tree.
That's right. So a robin in Spanish is called a mirlo, and the full name is mirlo primavera, which actually means spring robin, which is a nice name because we mostly see them come out in spring, right? And the pigeon and dove are very similar. They're both called paloma, but the pigeon's full name is paloma domestica. That's the way you would know them, but they're actually both considered doves in Spanish.
All right, let's see what happens next. I follow her all the way to Central Park, where my parents sometimes take us on Sundays when we're all dressed up.
¿Dónde está el pajarito?
Someone spies a bird in the tree. They say it's a falcon.
You really know your
right.
bird.
You guys are amazing. That's a peregrine falcon.
Can anyone see one more bird on the spread?
Someone spies another bird at the entrance on the fence.
Yay, good eyes. Brown-headed cowbird.
Now, the funny thing is in Spanish, a cowbird is actually called a cowboy, vaquero. So that little bird's a cowboy. And the falcon is halcón.
All right, here we go. Eva is going to the woods. I've never been that way. We sing made-up songs about joggers and strollers and fancy dogs.
Again, ¿dónde está el pajarito? These are more aves.
Someone says on the rock by the water.
Yes, that is a black-crowned night heron, and you can see it has a fancy white feather coming off from the top of its head.
Someone also spies a mallard in the water.
Yeah. Anyone
En el
more?
agua.
In the tree.
There it is. That's the crow.
That's right. So a crow is cuervo, and a heron is called a pedrete, and a duck is a pato, but this specific mallard is called pato de collar, which means a collared duck.
As you can see, it does have a nice white collar there, that male mallard.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go. Suddenly, Eva stops. She looks up. She's listening. I quiet down and I listen too. What's wrong, I wonder? I hear a police car, a plane, some barking.
¿Dónde están los pajaritos?
Someone says they see 3 birds in the tree, but they're not sure what kind of bird it is.
Yes, those are cedar waxwings, and they like to hang out in groups. And the reason why they have the name waxwing is they have little waxy tips at the edges of the bottom of their feathers on their wings.
And they are called amplis in Spanish.
Please. All right, let's see what Eva was hearing. I tug on Eva's sleeve, but she's not paying attention. She holds her binoculars up to her eyes. She's frozen like a statue. And then she smiles a huge smile.
¿Dónde está el pajarito?
Someone says, in the tree.
So this is a golden-winged warbler, and Eva sees it through her binoculars, but Ruby isn't looking at it, so I don't think she knows that bird is there quite yet.
A warbler, that's a tongue twister. The golden-winged warbler in Spanish is Reinita alidorada. That's a long name, but Reinita actually means little queen, and ali is wing, dorada is golden. So she's a golden-winged little queen.
There we go. I guess everything's okay, so I start singing again. Ruby, Eva sighs, you scared him away. Who did I scare away, I ask. Eva flops down on a bench. I sit too. It's a bird I've only ever seen back home in Costa Rica, she says. He's just stopping through on his way north because this is the best patch of woods for miles around. And he's quite a singer, just like you.
I think someone already spotted it. ¿Dónde está el pajarito?
You guys
Someone
are getting
says,
the hang
by
of
the
this.
nest.
There it is. This is a Baltimore Oriole, and this is the kinds of nests that Baltimore Orioles build.
An oriole is called bolsero. And if anyone knows bolsa, bolsa means bag. So a bolsero is a bird that either makes or carries a bag. And that's what the nest looks like.
That's great. And another thing to know is that the golden-winged warbler that Eva saw is a male golden-winged warbler, and you can tell because the males have the golden wing patch and they have golden on the top of their heads, and the females are more brown. And so you can tell the difference between male and female warblers by golden-winged warblers by their feathers. If you stay quiet, we may be able to find him again. He's a golden-winged warbler. I nod. I don't say a word or sing a word either. It sounds like something from a fairy tale. We move carefully. We're serious. We pay attention. We watch for tiny movements in the leaves. We try and try. No luck today, says Eva, but now you know what to do.
Now, the pajarito on this spread is Ruby's imagination.
There it is. That's
right.
what Ruby thinks that bird might look like because she hasn't seen one yet. All right, what happens now? I sing myself to sleep as usual.
Now, all these beautiful pájaros are from Ruby's beautiful dream. She's dreaming, soñando. So these are all imaginary pájaros. We'd all like to dream like that, eh?
Absolutely.
All right, on Sunday morning, I beg for a walk to Central Park. Malik's not interested, but it's family time, so he has to come anyway. We pass the bodega, we pass the theater. I sing my song. My family listens along.
¿Dónde está el pajarito?
Someone asked if that is a starling in the tree.
That is a starling in the tree. Nice work.
That's an estorino.
And starlings have little dots all over their body that can look like stars. And also when they're flying, they look like star shape. At the park, I lead them straight to the woods. I'm silent. I'm serious. I'm paying attention. I hear a rustle in the leaves. Shh, I say. Just like Eva, I'm frozen like a statue.
¿Dónde está el pájaro?
Someone says there are no birds.
That's right. But what happens next? A tiny bird pops out of the leaves. It looks one way, then the other, then right at me. I can't help it. I get that huge smile, just like Eva's. Look, I yell. Ah, yes, says Grandma. I saw a warbler, I sing as he flies away.
Ahí está el pajarito. A golden-winged warbler, which is, if you'll recall, Reinita alidorada.
All right, everybody, there's one more page. And you can see what Ruby did when she came home. Who did she go see? She went to show Eva that she found the warbler. But we can also play the game we've been playing.
That's right. Even on that last little page. ¿Dónde está el pajarito?
Someone says on the window corner, and then next, someone else asks, is it a sparrow or a house finch?
Oh, good question. That is a house sparrow.
That's right, a gorrión. Gorrión means a hood wearer. So I guess the little gray cap on his head looks like a hood.
All right, everybody, that is the end of the book. And we want to make sure that you can know just a little bit more about how Claudia made this book happen.
Do you think we can zoom in and then scroll across, or is this good?
I'm going to try.
And if not, we can work with this.
I think we're going to work with this.
Okay, no problem. So we'll start with Ruby and the bird closest to Ruby. So feel free to send in your guesses of which bird that is, if you can remember. Can you guess which one the first bird is with the little golden tips?
Someone said golden wings warbler.
That's right. The first little one is the golden-winged warbler. And I just wanted to talk about the kinds of things I had to pay attention to when illustrating this book. So sometimes when we want to draw a bird, we just think a little head, a beak, wings, and legs, but they all look so different from each other. So I had to take a look at what makes them so unique. So the warbler, as we know, has a yellow head and yellow tips on its gray wings. Compared to, right behind it, the sparrow, it also has gray, but the wings have brown on them, and the face looks like a raccoon. It has like a mask, a black mask over its eyes, and it's also very small compared to a lot of the other birds in this poster. Behind the sparrow is the waxwing, and it looks pretty small here, but the things that make it pretty unique is it also has a mask just like the sparrow, but the brown and orange body and wings have yellow tips on the tail and the little red waxy tips on the wings. So that's pretty unique to the waxwing bird. And behind that is a big bird by comparison, the robin. Now, I don't know if you guys can easily recognize robins in the city, but they always have a big reddish orange belly, right? The red-breast robin. So they're bigger, they have the orange belly and a black head.
It looks like we have some questions and some raised hands. So I'm going to call on Anne to ask her question. Anne, you are up. You can go ahead and ask your question.
I think she's muted.
Okay. Give her a second. While I wait, I'll come back to you. And then while I'm waiting, we have another question from Jill. Hi, Jill. What's your question? While we wait, you guys can go ahead and type your questions in the chat, and then we'll make sure to bring you back and come back to these questions.
Shall I keep going with the bird?
Of course.
Okay, great. Behind the robin is, again, we can't see too much detail, but the starling has beautiful, almost jewel-like shining wing feathers in jewel tones like blue and purple and pink. So I went in and I drew little ones, but it's hard to draw shiny things in a book. So a starling looks like it has speckled jewels, which is why it looks kind of like shining stars in the sky when it's flying. Behind that, the house finch looks pretty different from all the other birds, mainly because it's very light in color. It's almost white with a bright pinkish red belly and head with the gray wings. And then come the two palomas, the pigeon first and the dove. And what makes a paloma, a dove, look different from a paloma pigeon is the dove is a little bit smaller than the pigeon, and the coloring is different. They're a bit lighter in color, like a light grayish, and a smaller head, and the belly looks a bit more curved rather than the bigger, heavy, rounder belly of the pigeon. But they both have similar structure and shape and the red feet as well. Behind that comes the oriole with the very bright black, yellow, and orange colors, which is very striking and different from the other birds we've seen so far. And it's mostly the colors that make them look, the orioles look very easy to recognize. And above that is the falcon, the halcón. There's a lot of different features of this bird compared to the others. Firstly, it's larger than most of the birds we've just talked about. And look at that belly. It's all white with black speckles. It's so pretty, actually. It was really fun to draw. But this one, unlike the other birds, has quite a short curved beak. And it has that hood.
A fun
you want
fact.
to say something? Yeah.
Yeah, a fun fact about that bird is that it is the fastest animal on the planet. Peregrine falcons, first of all, they are called raptors. So they are birds of prey like eagles or other birds that have long talons that they use to attack. And this bird particularly hunts other birds and will be able to catch them midair while they're flying. So that's a really cool thing to know about the peregrine falcon.
That's pretty impressive. Even the shape of the falcon looks like it's gonna, like it looks like an arrow. It's just ready to go fast. Behind that is the crow, el cuervo. Now, I'm not sure if it's the only one, but it's the only bird I know of that's completely black. Every feather, the feet, the beaks, the head, like the eyes even. And the features are kind of blockish and square. The wings are more square, the tail is more square, even the beak is kind of long and square. So it's a very sort of square bird to draw. Behind that is the mallard. Compared to a lot of ducks, the mallard has a lot of details that make it clearly different from ducks, like the collar on its neck, the black head with the brown body, and look at the bluish details on the wings. Those are so, it almost looks like it's wearing jewelry or decorations back there. It's really distinct.
Another big difference about that bird compared to all the other ones is that it has webbed feet. And when a bird has webbed feet, that means that it is meant or adapted to be in the water. So that's why ducks and mallards are such great swimmers.
But another bird that likes to be on water behind it doesn't have webbed feet, which is interesting. The heron. Is the heron a fishing bird? Does it eat fish? Yeah.
Yes.
Well, look at that long beak, right? Great for grabbing those fish. And it's the biggest bird in the whole book. Look at how long those wings are. Beautiful light gray wings with a white belly and yellow feet. So that's pretty distinct with a nice black crown on its head.
Claudia, we have another question, and this question comes from Kate. So Kate, I am going to open it up for you to talk. It seems as though there's some issues with your audio, so if you could please type your question into the Q&A, I will be happy to answer it live. We have another question from Tasha Messer, so I'm going to try to allow her to talk. Tasha? It seems as though it's the same audio issue, so if you would please type your question into the Q&A or the chat, I'll make sure that it gets answered. Thank you so much. Claudia, you can continue.
Well, the last bird is the cowbird at the very top above the heron. And that was a pretty interesting bird to draw as well, because even though it's smaller and it's all black, it has a brown head. And I don't know if you remember what it's called in Spanish. It's not a cowbird, but a cowboy, the vaquero. Is there any reason why it has cow in its name?
Yes. So a cowbird has cow in its name because oftentimes you'll find cowbirds around cows. They hang out around cows often. And another interesting fact about cowbirds is that they lay their eggs in the nests of other birds. So they don't raise their own children. They might lay their eggs in a robin's nest or a dickcissel nest, wherever they are, and they're grazing animals around. They'll have those other birds raise their young for them. So a fun fact about cowbirds.
Very cool. And that's all the birds that were in the book.
Awesome.
I do see a question from Kate in the chat. Why is fur on the beak when there is usually not fur on the beak? Is that a question about a particular bird?
Kate, did you have a particular bird in mind?
The far left, gray bird.
Maybe the heron?
Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Far left gray bird with a white belly. Okay, so maybe you're looking at this black top of the beak. The top of the beak does not have feathers all over it, but actually a lot of birds do have very small feathers coming out from around the base of the beak. And the thought about those feathers is that they actually help sense insects and other things that are near the beak, just like whiskers on a cat. Yes.
But this heron, I think a lot of birds have this, where the top of their beak and up over their heads and their shoulders are the same color. But so the beak will be a black part of the beak, which is cartilage, I think. Mm-hmm. And then continues as black feathers. So it looks like one big shape, but they're made of two different things.
Yes.
Yeah, it does. I can see that in the picture now. Yeah, beaks are made of keratin, and actually so are feathers, but in a very different way.
Mm-hmm.
So now that you guys have learned all about Ruby's birds, Mya's going to share an exciting activity about how you can find your own birds. And I'm going to go ahead and share an example of what that looks like while she's talking.
All right, so one of the things that you saw in the book is that Ruby started to listen. She's always listening, but she started to tune into birds. And one of the things that you can do is go outside, or even just open your window and do an activity where you're opening your ears. So this is called sound mapping, and Kiana is sharing her screen now. Sound mapping is fun, and it actually relates to illustration, to Claudia's work. So what I want you to do is I want you to pick a spot, either outside or near a window, and I want you to spend 5 whole minutes. That might sound like a lot. I want you to spend 5 whole minutes listening. And as you listen, I want you to draw what you hear. You may not know what it is, but draw something. Draw something that reminds you of what you hear. And you could try, you know how when you're listening, sometimes you can tell that the sound is coming from over there or over there. When you draw, put a big X in the middle of the page for where you are, and then try to draw what you hear in relation to where you are. So if you see something over to the side, to your right, draw it over there. And what you can do this any time of day. You can do it different times of day to see if you hear different things. When I listen in the morning, I sometimes hear the garbage truck. I sometimes hear my neighbors who have a 3-year-old kid. I sometimes hear the dogs barking, and sometimes I do hear birds. But you'll hear all sorts of different things, and this is a great way to wake up your ears so that next time you're walking around, you may be surprised. What people often find is that once they start listening for birds, they realize that birds are literally everywhere in the city, and in the park and in your neighborhood. They're everywhere in the world. Birds are so successful, and so it's a really fun way to just like Ruby, start tuning into the sound.
And this resource comes from a Cornell Lab of Ornithology cool guidebook called the Bird Salute Explorer's Guidebook. And we have it in English and in Spanish. And everyone who attends this webinar today will get their own. And it has this activity that is page 3, as well as so many more other activities. And so after this webinar, you'll receive those resources as well as instructions, because if you do this activity and you share it with us, and we'll tell you how to share it with us, you will be put into a raffle for a special surprise that we will be announcing on our next webinar. So with that being said, thank you so much for your time today, Mya Thompson and Claudia Davila. I really, really appreciate you sharing your work with us and sharing everything that you've been doing. And for everyone that's attending, our next session will be on October 23rd, and we will be reading Circle by Jeannie Baker. And we're going to be learning all about migration, as well as how birding can be for everyone, no matter no matter where you are or who you are, how it can be for everybody. So we hope that you join us for that. Registration is open now. You can go to georgiaaudubon.org and look under education programs for youth and search for Georgia Audubon Bird Stories, and you can register now. Thank you again to Claudia and Mya. We have a couple more minutes left for some questions. If anyone has any more questions. I am not seeing any. We also...
Oh, I just see one. What are your favorite birds? Kiana, do you want to start with that one?
Sure. I have a couple favorite birds. I love a grassland songbird called a dickcissel because it inspired my love of birds. It's a little yellow bird that nests on the ground. Another favorite of mine is the crow, which was in your book. And I really enjoy crows because of how intelligent that they are. And I also very, very recently have kind of become more and more interested in birds of prey, like owls and hawks. So I have a couple favorite birds. They're kind of all over the place. Those are the ones that I can think of right now that I love, but I do love them all.
What about you, Claudia?
I have some favorite birds as well, and just like Kiana, I love crows because they're crazy intelligent. Like they're like dogs, or more. I don't know. They're so smart. And besides that, I also love seagulls because I just love hearing them because I know that I'm near the water and seeing how they like soar through the sky so calmly, and when they walk around they have such a tall, proud, square body shape that, and their beak, it just makes me smile every time I see them. And as well as sparrows, because even though they're just a humble little brown city bird, they are always around the city, and they drown out the sounds of the bus and the traffic, and I can hear the nature in the city with sparrows all the time.
It's so hard for me to choose, but I do love warblers. I truly love warblers. And one thing that's very amazing about warblers, and what you saw in the book, is that warblers are world travelers. And so, for example, the golden wing warbler is traveling from all the way in Costa Rica to all the way to New York every year. And so it's just amazing. They're so tiny, and just amazing that they can travel that far every year. Warblers come through at this time of year in New York on their migration, and they come through in the spring as well. And there are lots of different kinds of warblers, and warblers can be very colorful. So it's a real treat. It's one of those things that you can look forward to all year. Another bird that I absolutely love, and you can look this up if you're curious, is called a common potu, and they are one of the weirdest looking birds in the world. They actually, when they actually hide during the day in broad daylight. They hide because they look like a stick. They look like the end of a branch, and then at night they open their big yellow eyes, and they have a very large mouth. They kind of look like a Muppet. So I do love common potus as well.
I also really enjoy a painted bunting because it was the first bird that I saw, and I was like, this bird looks like a rainbow. For those that don't know what they look like, it's a smaller bird, but it looks so colorful. It looks like you just splashed an entire crayon box onto a bird, and then that bird took flight. So it has multiple colors, very bright, very beautiful. If you see one, you got to make sure to tell us so that we can share it. Last but certainly not least, before we close out today, I just wanted to say that thank you to everyone who participated in our STEM activity. Last session, we had a nest challenge, and the winner of that nest challenge came from Instagram. So I will be sharing the winner in the email that all of you guys will be receiving along with your resources after that. So thank you once again for taking the time and sharing with us. Please join us next time on October 23rd. And if you haven't had the chance to take the poll, please go ahead and do that. Maya, Claudia, do you guys have any closing words?
I would just say, I hope you have a chance to go out and listen and look for birds. They're all around you. And for so many people, once they start listening and looking for birds, it really is one of the big excitements of their lives. So I hope you have a chance to do that.
And I want to say that the best way to see the differences between birds is to try to draw them. So if you see a photo or a real bird, try drawing it and see what makes each bird so unique. So get out your crayons and markers and pencils and see if you can just draw a page full of birds and have fun.
I agree. I agree. Thank you. Thank you again. I hope everyone has a wonderful Friday, and we will see you next time. All right. Bye.
Ciao. Bye.